And the first meet I went to was the Champions All in London, and I ended up winning that. Then I went over to the Romanian Invitational, and for 6 years, Dan Greco had won that meet, and I ended up winning that. Then I went to the American Cup, and I won that. So I basically won 4 international invitationals and started building a name for myself. And then it was 1978, and Bart and I were heading over to the World Championships. And my goal at the World Championships was to place top 6. I just wanted to be top 6 in the all-around. It was unheard of to be top 6 at that time. I didn't think it was a very realistic goal, but I wanted to be top 6. And after the first day of competition, I think I was 13th going into the all-around finals. And I actually moved up to 6th place. And that just completely blew me away, because I didn't think at that time, even though I was sort of setting myself up internationally, that I was going to be able to move into that spot. So I was thrilled with the competition. And I also qualified for the finals in floor exercise. That was the routine that you guys saw. And a little funny story about that. I woke up the day of the finals, and I was really I had flu-like symptoms. Certain times I would bring on some of these symptoms to myself, because one time I had a meet that I didn't do, I did really well because I was a little bit sick, so I would bring these things on myself. And the day I woke up, I was real dizzy, and I was worried because I was a little bit dizzy, and I had to do the 1.5 twisting, 1 3/4 on somersault on the floor, and I was worried about it. We go into the warm-up gym before the podium actual warm-up, and I'm walking back and forth, and I'm really kind of nervous, and I said to Roger Council, who's my college coach, I said, Roger, I said, you know, I'm really worried about this. I'm not feeling real well, I'm a little bit dizzy, and I said, I'm worried about going in on my head on this skill. This is it, you've got to do this. This is the World Championships. Got more and more dizzy, and then all of a sudden I said, Coach, I don't know if I can go. And he said, go where? And I said, I don't know if I can go in the meet. I'm really feeling dizzy, and I don't feel well. He said, this is the World Championships, and you've made it into floor finals. You'll go. My coach was big. You guys know my coach, but you did what he told you. Well, anyway, I ended up going into the warm-up gym, and I started clearing my head a little bit, and then I was pacing down around the podium. And Nick Landgranoff was in first place at the time. He was ahead of Roland Bruckner and I, and he was 1/10 ahead of both of us. And I was pacing back and forth, and I'm still feeling dizzy. And he was the first to perform on the floor, and I look up, and right as he's coming at me with a double layout, which was unheard of back then, he puts his hands down flat on the floor, and I knew what kind of a deduction that was, and all of a sudden my head cleared up. All of a sudden, I felt good. All of a sudden I thought, I can win. I can medal here. Not win this thing, but I can medal here. And I kept pacing. I kept walking around. I was feeling awesome, and I just couldn't wait to go. And that's when you saw me standing up there pacing and moving back and forth. And when I started that routine, I knew at the end, it was very uncharacteristic for any of us to do anything, you know, anything demonstrative out there. And when I went like this, and I won, I knew that I'd won. I knew before the scores came out, I felt it in me. It was like tunnel vision, I don't know. But I knew that I'd won, and I walked off, and sure enough, the score came up. I needed a 985, and I got a 99. It was a little gift, but, you know. I ended up winning, and I was walking and waiting, and we go, and, you know, after you win a gold medal, you got to go pick it up. And all of a sudden, there was this delay. And Roger was getting angry. He was getting anxious, and there's more and more of a delay. And finally, they call us up, and they line us up to go pick up our medals. And we later found out that the people from Barcelona didn't have our sheet music for the national anthem because they weren't used to playing our national anthem at one time. So we kind of had to wait for that. But then you go up there, and I sang the national anthem, and I saw my flag being raised, and I saw this Russian to my left and this Japanese to my right, and I was this little guy. And I was singing the national anthem, and at the end of it, I closed my eyes, and I dropped my head, and I remembered that moment, and I can still remember that moment to this day when I closed my eyes. And Jim McKay said something at the end. He goes, and now the question is asked, is all the work and all the deprivation worth it? The answer is yes at this moment. And that was one of the greatest moments of my life. And From there, we both went to the '79 World Championships and had some success there as well. And then, as you know, we boycotted the Olympics. And people talk to me all the time, aren't you really still bitter about that Olympic thing? And, you know, you could have been Olympic gold medalist. And I say, yeah, but, you know, I went to the World Championships and I won. I went to the Olympics and I'm an Olympian. And, you know, I could have gone to the Olympics and we knew how hard it was going to be to win in Moscow. Relations back then and judging the way it was, we knew you would have to be perfect. So I could have gone into Moscow and placed 35th too. So to this day, people still think I'm an Olympic champion, and sometimes I don't change, I don't correct it. Sometimes I do. But I've had a tremendous career, and you know, Scott Hamilton said it once the best: the older I get, the better I was. I think about that now often, but it's the little things now that really get you going. I'm dead serious about this. When Bart mentions on TV that there's the Thomas Blair or there's the Thomas on floor, those little things are what get me now. Those little things are what make my life now. These kinds of things are tremendous, and I'm a coach now. And I tell all my kids a lot of the things my coaches taught me, and one of the best parts of this evening is sitting back with Bruce Davis. One of my other coaches, please stand up, Bruce. Please. And Don Gensler and all of my coaches, and just reminiscing about all of our old times together. But in closing, I'd just like to thank a number of people because Mr. Bear said it the best last night. This is a gymnastics family. We are all a gymnastics family. Bart doesn't get paid for this. You know, and I'll tell you, it takes a lot of editing and a lot of time in the studio to do all these films that he's doing, and I know, and I can appreciate some of that. But we're all a gymnastics family from all the way back. We don't do this. We're not doing this to become millionaires, except for Bruno. Right, Bruno? Right, the Baron? But I do want to thank a couple other people. Don Robinson, please stand up. Are you here, buddy, in the back? Thank you for coaching me and helping me. A.B. Grossfeld, please stand up. The master. One of my lifelong friends, Vic Randazzo, competed for 27 years. Of course, Bruno Klaus and Cheryl Klaus and everything they've done for me. Thank you, Bruno. Quick little story about Bruno. In 1978, he said to me, "Hey, I want you to watch yourself on the TV." So he bought me this $1,400 Betamax machine. It's this big, it's this wide, and I could record the television shows, and I could play them back. And I could watch myself in slow-mo, and that would help me. And I still have that in my house to this day, Bruno. I really thank you for all of what you've done. Alpha Factor for sponsoring my picture up here. Mike Robinson and Royce Kaiser, thank you. My buddy Jay Ashmore, who's been a teacher to me and a helper all my life. Frank Bear, what can I say, man? You're the greatest. You started the USGF. Thank you. And once again, I have to thank Bart and Paul Zert for everything that they've done and continue to do for the sport of gymnastics. This is a great evening. I lost my mom in November, but this is for you, Mom.